The Cornfield Collector. Looking out the window, I can smell the freshest country air. Memories flow as I take in the sweet scent, counting ladybugs in the house, riding bikes in the backyard, chasing hedgehogs, my dad picking me up on his shoulders, walking me to the cornfield hill beside Grandma's house. He told me he'd rather get bit by a snake than me, as he heroically lifted me above, leading me to the top of the hill. In fact, I think it was my favourite spot. Me and my cousin Hayley would always walk up there, sit and watch the sunset, talk about silly secrets, kid stuff. We'd ponder on the meaning of life, and look out by the old tree at the top of the hill, above all the corn. I love going up there. Well, at least I did. Not so much anymore, after what we saw that night. One afternoon, myself and Hayley decided to go up to our favourite spot on top of the cornfield. I secretly felt vulnerable when I wasn't on my dad's shoulders, and would imagine snakes waiting for me in the grasses below. Me and Hayley reached the top of the hill and sat down by our tree. The sunset was always gorgeous at this time. I believe it was around 6 o'clock, right when the sky would turn a pretty purple and orange colour. You could see 3 different state lines from that hill: West Virginia, where we were, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. We sat there and started eating our lunch. When it got darker out, we decided to tell each other scary stories. We were young, so our stories weren't that great, but at the time it scared us shitless. We talked about urban legends that we came across on the internet, which were only the typical things such as El Chupacabra, Bigfoot, walking skeleton ghosts, things like that. Hayley would tell me stories about the ghost that haunted the local spook house, a cheap Halloween attraction in our town. Stupid, I know, but believe me, by the time it got darker out and you could see the stars, we were seriously spooked. We never admitted it because there was a stigma of looking like a scaredy cat and getting teased. Soon, the slightest of noises would creep us out, and we decided to turn back and start walking home. Halfway down, I noticed I forgot the lunch bag. When I asked Hayley to go with me, she told me to do it myself. Unless you're too scared, she would say. I lashed back out at her. I'm not, I'll prove it. And I ran up the hill as fast as I could, ignoring the complete darkness and bugs flying in my face. When I got to the top of the hill, I was out of breath. I looked around for the bag, but I couldn't find it. I kept searching and searching, all around the tree. I could have sworn I left it here. Right there, I said to myself. I called Hayley's name. No answer. I called again. No answer. I started to panic. I bolted down the hill and forgot about the bag. I was yelling Hayley's names, bawling, swallowing the hot tears running down my face. I tripped. I was alone. I was on my knees, crying for her to stop and just come out already. It was nearly 10 minutes now, and I was alone. Hayley had the flashlight, and I couldn't see the trail down. All of a sudden, I felt something squeeze my shoulders. I jumped and cried out in pure fear. Turning around, I noticed something I wasn't expecting. It was Hayley, and she was laughing at me.
Oh my God, Henry, you should have seen your face. You were really, really scared.
She mocked me. I wiped the tears away from my face. It wasn't funny. I was yelling for you, I cried. I punched her in the leg and she stumbled back.
Ow! Oh, come on, Henry. You have to admit, that was even just a little bit hilarious.
Maybe for you. Why would you do that? I screamed.
I just wanted to see the look on your face while you were running around crying like a baby.
I got up and took the flashlight out of her hand. Let's just go, I said. We started walking down the trail, and Hayley kept teasing me, as I expected. Shut up, I told her. You're so mean. She ignored me and kept going on, and I tried not to cry. We swerved around more and more trees, occasionally getting poked by pine cones. I stopped hearing her footsteps and turned around. She was frozen and shaking.
Henry, do you see that? It's right over there.
I didn't believe a word she said. Stop trying to scare me. It isn't going to work this time.
No, really. Shh, 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 shh. Don't move.
I kept walking. She begged for me to stay. I'm not stopping for you, not after what you did. And even if you are telling the truth, I hope it gets you. I ran away from her. I didn't care. I hoped she was scared. I wanted her to feel the fear that I felt. I kept running down the trail. As my hand was shaking, the flashlight was bouncing with my step. Then I heard a scream. But it wasn't the kind of scream that you ever hear. Ever. It was horrible. Not like it was coming from your mouth, but a scream that escaped from the bellows of your stomach. Pure fear. I turned around. I saw Hayley behind me, running, screaming. She grabbed my hand and pulled me.
Henry, please. We have to go now.
She was in a panic, hyperventilating. What is wrong with you? I said. She was paralysed again. I turned around. And that's when I saw it. That thing. Tall. Very tall. But it slouched. And its skin was tainted by the dark surrounding us. Its eyes. I could see them glowing. They were white like a human's, but it was so definitely not human. It had huge pupils that were enveloped inside the eye. It was so vivid, hypnotizing. Its hands were sharp, like knives. I was crying now. It was only a split second, but I noticed everything. It was dark, but I managed to shine the light on it for just a second, and that's when I saw it. It was the lunch bag, ripped and hung around one of its sharp limbs. And there was something inside the bag that looked alive. And I'm sure it wasn't our food because, well, food just doesn't move like that. It also had on a hat, looking like an old toboggan, tattered and torn. Various bracelets were around his arm, some valuable looking, some others were plastic. And it was wearing a locket, what appeared to be a St. Patrick's Day clover necklace. It was walking towards us now. It smiled wide. It had no teeth, just empty space, which I still believe scared me more than sharp teeth ever could. That's when I grabbed Hayley and ran. She was screaming and crying.
But I don't want to die,
she was saying through snot and tears. I didn't either, that's why we ran. I didn't pay attention to the flashlight, I just kept running downhill, dragging Hayley with me. I knew we were close because I felt solid ground, and I daren't look back. I knew it was still there because I felt its awful presence following us. Don't ask me how. I just felt it. As soon as we saw Grandma's house, I didn't feel safe yet. I don't think I'll ever feel safe again. We ran inside and locked all of the doors, completely out of breath. We ran into the bedroom, got under the covers. I hugged her. We cried. We knew it was going to be a sleepless night. We decided that we'd tell our grandma in the morning. We didn't want her going out there to check, to be taken by that awful thing. For the rest of the time we just laid there restless for what seemed like hours. Then all of a sudden, Hayley spoke up.
Henry,
she whispered. She still had a quiver in her voice. What? I replied.
Before I saw it, and before you heard me scream, that thing, it spoke to me.
At first I didn't believe her. How could something like that talk? It wasn't human, it was the farthest thing from human. Still, I listened. What did it say, Hayley? She hesitated. Then she started to shake. I tried to calm her down, but she started crying again. which in turn made me do the same. Finally, I got an answer through her silent sobs that I won't ever forget.
It said... It told me.
She whispered those next words as if it was listening.